Yeah. May I request everybody to take their seats, please? We are about to start the forum. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Star Sports India Football Forum 2016, which has been co-presented by Sony Pictures Networks. It gives me great pleasure to have all of you all here. I think, and of course, I must extend welcome to the Sports Minister, Shri Vijay Goel, and of course, President of the All India Football Federation, Mr. Praful Patel, for being here. I think everybody is agreed that football is the next big thing in India. It's only a question of how it can be fast-tracked to becoming what everybody anticipates, hopes, and expects will happen. It could take 15, 20 years, it could take 5 years. It depends a lot on how things move. And happily, we have all the stakeholders here. There's the sports minister, there's the federation president, there are the broadcasters, and of course, everybody else who's part of that ecosystem, the sponsors, the merchandising experts, and the media which communicates the thrill and the passion of football to the fans. So, without much ado, and I think because we have started a little late and everybody's got, their commitments to meet, other commitments to meet, let me just express my own personal hope. I think there has been a lot of agendas set out by the federation, certainly, and also by the government from the Prime Minister downwards, that football is an area that needs to be looked at very aggressively. And just to get some idea of where the government is also headed on this, may I invite our chief guest, Shri Vijay Goel, the Honorable Sports Minister of India, to come and give us the address. Shri Vijay Goel.
Our Football Federation President Shri Praful Patel, Shri Sandeep Pradhan, Mr. Vincent Casedo, Director General International Development, La Liga, Shri Nitin Kukreja, CEO Star Sports, Rajesh Kaul, President Sony, Mr. Dave Thomas, Managing Director, Adidas Group India, and Mr. Thomas Abraham, Editorial Director, Sports Network, and friends. We all here for the future of football. Though there is no need to me to come here, but everywhere where sports is there, the sports minister is there. So I welcome all of you that you have get together here for the future of football. Football stands on the cusp of a revolution in this country, and the personal interest shown by our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, in this movement ties in well to his vision of promoting and developing sports and his strong conviction and belief of Khelega India, Khelega India. I have mentioned this in other fora as well, but it bears repeating. Our Honorable Prime Minister has a vision of football being played in every Indian village. In line with this vision, the Mission 11 Million program has been planned by the Sports Ministry to train 11 million school students in football from all concerns of the country. The government will work to organize football clinics in schools and sports in providing football training and coaching methodologies to strengthen the students on fundamentals of the game. And as should be clear to all, just as Rome was not built in a day, there are no quick fix solution to this initiative that I know. Our government, under the able guidance of our Prime Minister, is convinced that a long-term vision for sports in general and football in particular in this case is imperative if we are to see our great nation making its mark on the global arena in what is the world's most popular game. If we are all to collectively realize the hope of India becoming a great footballing nation, it will require coordinating efforts for all stakeholders across the value chain, and this can only be achieved through partnerships. The government is ready and willing to offer its assistance wherever particularly possible to facilitate this endeavor. Our doors are open to constructive suggestions on building the football ecosystem in this country. In that respect, India's hosting of the 2017 FIFA Under 17 World Cup will certainly have a strong positive impact. The hosting of this event and the engagement activities planned around it have been one of the catalysts for the strategic decision of our Honorable Prime Minister to support football in India. Not only will the 6 stadiums being ready to host the mega event provide a template to other facilities in the country to emulate, but it will also draw attention to the youth as well as grassroots development of the game, all of which are essential ingredients necessary to widening the base of the football pyramid. I would also be amiss if I were not to acknowledge the support that is being extended towards the shared vision by FIFA, the Asian Football Confederation, and a host of countries and their football leagues in a swath spanning South America, Europe, and on down to Australia. The role of FIFA is playing gains even more significance in the light of the FIFA president Gianni Infantino recently unveiling the FIFA to the vision for the futures document, which is of particular relevance to the countries such as ours. Having said that, and while we deeply appreciate and welcome the support of our international well-wishers, our real success will be determined by how will we make in India. And in that respect, I must make note of Reliance Foundation Youth Sports Initiative, the Multi-City School and College Sports Competition, which Shri Modi ji officially launched in July. Initiative such as this and many others being launched by our corporate citizens and add the needed to the Indian football growth story. I also compliment the Star India Network for taking sports to grassroots level through their coverage of national and international sporting events. As a result, the youth of the nation is getting an opportunity not only to watch the matches on television, but to learn, inspire, and excel in competitions. I will close this address by returning to comments Shri Modi ji made in one of his Man Ki Baat programs, where he called for creation of the right atmosphere for the game's development. Conference such as the Star Sports India Football Forum all aid in creating that right atmosphere. I wish you all a constructive and fruitful day's deliberations, and I hope some good ideas will come out of the discussions. My ministry would be most interested in getting a briefing as to what you all have to say and also provide the support in implementing the steps necessary to make India a great football nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, for those encouraging words. And obviously, we are going to take it very seriously how the Sports Minister is going to help the growth of this sport. But while there is the ministry and while there is the other stakeholders, the broadcasters, the sports goods manufacturers, obviously the fans, the most crucial role is played by the federation. And we've got the All India Football Federation president here, Mr. Praful Patel, who's in his career in many ways, even in politics, has been distinguished by being very progressive, forward-looking, and of course being very energetic. So we'll hear from him in this special address how he intends to make football the next big thing in India. Praful, Mr. Patel, can I invite you here? Thank you.
Honorable Minister for Sports, my distinguished colleague Shri Vijay Goyal, other distinguished guests here this morning, friends from the media. I don't see ladies, so it's only gentlemen. Oh, there are some ladies, so okay, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's nice to have a football forum here in New Delhi. And we've been attending many forums outside of India, but fewer in India. But I believe now that such events are happening quite frequently, also signals that India's time for football has come. But when I say it has come, it still has a long, long way to go. It's still work in progress, and we need the active support of everybody in this room, and especially my friend and our distinguished Sports Minister, Shri Vijay Goyal, and his government to continuously back, because India is not a small country, we are a continent. We may be a country, but when you see UEFA, I see friends from UEFA here, UEFA is probably smaller than India in terms of population. But that's not the issue. The issue is we are a large country. We need to move forward holistically. And our biggest challenge has been to broad-base the game from its traditional pockets of Kolkata, Goa, Kerala in the past, not present, and now to move it much beyond these traditional areas. The Northeast is our new frontier, which has virtually now started producing more than 50% of India's top-notch footballers. So I think, sir, we need to work in that direction also, to broad-base the game and to make it very, very attractive to most of India. I appreciate the government in its support, and this Mission 11 million, which the Minister just mentioned, is a step in the direction to ensure that football reaches out to the maximum number of youngsters across the country, and the government's active support will be very, very useful. The World Cup Under-17 was precisely with this in mind, to broad-base the game and to make it attractive and to strengthen India's football at the grassroots. Because no matter what we do, there is no short fixed solution to solving the long-term interests of Indian football. It's not that you hire a good coach or you put two grounds together and you give training for a year or two to your senior national team and everything will become excellent and we will become world beaters. It cannot happen that way. There is a structural, fundamental change which is required for Indian football, and that is why the grassroots, the entire generation of new footballers will have to be created who are mentally, physically, and emotionally very strong to be able to compete with the best in the world. Football is the most universal sport, the most competitive sport, and therefore to reach that level, to be at that level is not something which is an overnight affair, and I think our consistent efforts in this direction have started showing some results, but the real dividends will be seen as we go by. And therefore the World Cup Under-17 is a redefining moment for Indian football. And I can tell you one thing, even though we may not be on the world stage in terms of competition, but presence of people here, or when we go outside of India, the potential of Indian football and the recognition for Indian football and the intention to partner with Indian football is looking very, very, strong and vibrant. And that is good. Ultimately, whether people like to believe it or not, but there is, sir, without money and without commercialization, no sport can sustain itself in today's times. And FIFA's motto is very clearly professional football. There has to be money to the game, otherwise there is no future to the game. That is a guiding principle of FIFA. And therefore, we need very many supporters in this room and outside to support this game, to ensure it and to recognize and to achieve its potential. We have now very active partners. We have Star Sports, which is part of our ISL. We have others who are even mentioned on this board. Even Sony is a partner in the AFC and other competitions. So there are Adidas and others and so many other, I'm talking of global football. I'm not talking of everybody being a partner only in India. But at the same time, the whole ecosystem has to develop, and I would wish that we have more participation of corporates, of our sponsors, of television partners, and everybody else in the ecosystem to make this a success. So the World Cup Under 17 will be a redefining moment for Indian football, and we have seen that we've just had the Asian Games Under 16 tournament. We had the BRICS tournament, which was the initiative of our Prime Minister, which was held in Goa. We've had many other tournaments, and I can tell you that on the global stage, we would like to see that after the Under 17 World Cup, the World Cup Under 20 should be brought to India. We want to see the Club World Cup come to India, because this will enhance and take the pyramid and move in the right direction. So these are the couple of initiatives which we are working on. Mission 11 Million is a great initiative of the government, and we are fully behind it. We would want it to be a success, to make Indian football eventually a big success. So I don't want to go into too much of other details. Yesterday we had another forum on which many friends from the media were there, but I can tell you that we want to have a stronger and a better, more holistic league in India. There are problems which we face. It's work in progress, as I said, but we want to see that there is a strong league in India which is combining the best of one tournament and the existing official league. We have also seen, Mr. Goyal, just for your information, we, for the first time, an Indian club went into the final of the AFC, and that was just day before yesterday in Doha, though we lost by a single goal. But we were the first time a club from India has reached the finals of an AFC Cup final. So that was a beginning. It's a redefining moment. And we need to see more and more clubs move to that level. We also want our own future shares of the Man U's, the Man Cities, the Barcelonas, and the Real Madrids, and so on. I mean, all the beautiful clubs which we see on television and admire and our youngsters follow. We want to see a similar number of strong Indian clubs play, and they should also not only shine in India, but they should make a mark across the world. But these are all eventual, I mean, these are our desires and dreams, and of course, no dream or desire can be fulfilled until we work towards it. We assure you that we are all headed in the right direction. We are well-meaning, and we have an active government supporting us. Our Prime Minister's vision, as the Minister mentioned, not only his vision, but we have a very proactive Minister who is fully supporting our endeavors, and in partnership with all of you, we will make sure that India has a big future in football, not only in India, but on the global arena. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. I think, yes, Bengaluru's football club's participation in the AFC finals is perhaps the defining moment, and this is the trigger. And hopefully from here, the sport will kind of take off. There's the Under 17 World Cup coming up next year. But in keeping with the line of thought that has been talked about by the Sports Minister and the AIFF President, Project 11 million, I think more, beyond 11 million is perhaps 100 million. You have to reach out, not just the people who participate, but the fans, the followers of football, and that's where the broadcasters become so important, because if you carry the message, and the messaging becomes very important, to create that excitement, to capture the eyeballs seems like a very, prosaic example of growing a sport, but it is vital. And let's see how Star Sports intends to do that. We've got Nitin Kukreja, who's the CEO of Star Sports. They've been very aggressively pushing and promoting sports across disciplines. We'll find out from him what he intends doing, or what his channel intends doing on this wonderful game. May I invite Nitin Kukreja, please? Thank you.
Thanks, Ayaz. It's not so much about what we are doing, but what needs to be done as a collective ecosystem. Honorable Minister, Sir, Mr. Patel, my esteemed colleagues, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here. And good morning. Football in India, what a strange dichotomy, what a paradox. It's a paradox that makes me despair and sometimes even get angry. And why is that so? Because on one hand, we seem to have this massive opportunity before us, an opportunity that has so many dimensions that probably no other sport even comes close. We have an opportunity defined by the fact that even without India participating in the FIFA World Cup, and despite a very unfriendly time zone, 170 million bleary-eyed Indians still watched the event on television. We have an opportunity defined by the fact that when it comes to fan bases, each of the major Premier League teams and La Liga clubs will tell you that India ranks right up at the top of their global fan list. We have an opportunity defined by the fact that the only sport that comes closest to cricket in terms of participation is football. And in saying this, I would include what I see at the famous Maidans in Mumbai, the elite schools across India, as well as various corporate events held across the country. We have an opportunity defined by the aspiration quotient of the sport, possibly the highest across any sport in India. The level of elite association with football, the amount of media coverage that it gets, the amount of money that it already attracts. While, look at this, we even have a dedicated forum right here for a sport where we are 137th in the world. And yet I despair, as I said, get angry at times, because I see a real opportunity of this real possibility of this opportunity coming to nothing, being frittered away, and the next decade being yet another decade of lost opportunity. Because despite all the elite support, all the participation, and all the willing and passionate viewers, at the heart of it, we are still a country who's ranked 137th in the world, with no heroes of our own to cheer for, with no real achievements really to speak of on the football field, at least not in the last 2 to 3 decades. Because we are still a country where an aspiring and talented kid would still get lost on where and how to get trained and where to play or realize his or her true potential. Because despite all the hype and hoopla around it, we are still a country who will scramble to make the FIFA Under-17 World Cup happen and then get it into a tick-the-box exercise of just hosting the event instead of having a conscious thought of how to leverage it to propel the sport forward. The to-dos are clear. They've been there for some time now. But now, like all focused activities, we need to set out some very clear, measurable targets and timelines to the activities and assign a responsibility to these activities. Let's reiterate our to-dos. They've been spoken at many fora across. One, let's revamp and energize the grassroots program. Where does a kid go to play and how does he develop his or her potential? Let's set a target of getting 1 million kids to play in organized competitions each year. And from that pool, let's set a target of getting 100,000 kids to whom training is provided through the best possible avenues, including outside of India where necessary. Alongside, develop the coaches. We have one A-licensed coach for every 25 million people in India, versus one for every 44,000 in England and for every 1,800 people in Iceland. Let's target to bring in 10,000 more coaches by 2020. How else will we have a sustainable program of training and development in India? Two, let's revamp our tournament structures with clear stature attached to each tournament and stake attached to each match. I said it last year too. We really can't run 2 national leagues. It is impractical, it is just not sustainable. A clear league structure needs to be implemented, and at the latest by the 2017-2018 season. 3, we have to solve the infrastructure conundrum. Stadiums in India are a joke, and the single biggest logistical hurdle in organizing any football event in this country. And we really can't build football in this country without giving an opportunity to people to go and experience a game and cheer passionately for the team and their heroes. Let's set a target of having at least 10 quality, fan-friendly football stadiums in India by 2020. All of the above needs to distill down to take a target of taking Team India to the 2026 World Cup. That has to be the holy grail to chase, at least for now. But something else needs to happen alongside. The sport, its heroes, and their achievements will need to be marketed, very, very aggressively marketed. Like every other nation, India too roots for its sporting icons and wills them to succeed. Let's set a target there too, that every Indian kid knows the name of the Indian football captain, and at least 2 of Team India players start featuring in the list of most admired and aspirational heroes for every kid in India. And as the custodian of football in this country, this mantle of steering the ship will have to be taken by AIFF all over again. There will be enough and more stakeholders, the government, the broadcasters, the media, the sponsors, to partner. And yes, it will take time, but the bull will need to be taken by the horn once again, and the process started once again to chase each of these targets down with a manic obsession. A lot has been done already. The ISL was a great initiative to take Indian football forward. The nurturing of Bengaluru FC, and in the fantastic 3-year journey that they've had, getting the FIFA Under-17 World Cup to India, all of these great initiatives. But now is the time to get into turbocharge mode and take the sport many-fold forward. There are enough and more blueprints available on what federations have done. Look at what even Germany, a footballing superpower, had to resort to. After a dismal showing in the Euro 2000, even they had to go to the grassroots to find the answer. Make youth academies mandatory for all Bundesliga clubs, develop 366 German FA-operated youth centers across the country, serving 25,000 kids, and translated all of this into winning the 2014 FIFA World Cup, with 14 out of the 23 players being byproducts of these initiatives. There is the BCCI, and how over a period of time it has developed quality cricket stadiums in each part of this country, and given fans in each corner of the country an opportunity to experience the game up close. There is Kabaddi, and how out of nothing it has marketed itself and its heroes. Yes, we may have to tailor some of these blueprints to our requirements, but the answers are out there already. We just now need to put very specific, measurable, actionable targets to chase these down. Let's not waste this opportunity, the grand opportunity that football presents. Let's translate this magnificent opportunity into something all of India is proud of in the years to come. Thank you.
Very passionate, strong, and sometimes contentious words from, somewhat contentious words from Nitin. I think the Honorable Minister is about to leave. So thank you, sir, for coming and gracing this occasion. We'll break for tea, and hopefully some of the issues that you've raised will be discussed offline, Nitin, by the Federation President. We'll reconvene in, 15 minutes? 20 minutes? Thank you.